I have spent 7 summers hosting the same backyard party. Burgers on the grill, cold beer in coolers, friends laughing under string lights, while kids chase fireflies across the lawn. My wife Diane and I built this tradition together, or so I thought. This year, though, I sent out one invitation she knew nothing about. One guest who would turn our perfect suburban gathering into the moment my wife realized her secret was never really hers to keep. Standing there that July afternoon watching her smile at our friends while her lover mixed drinks by the cooler, I knew exactly what was coming. And she had absolutely no idea. Before I tell you how it all went down, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button if you believe the truth always finds a way to surface, and do not forget to subscribe. Because stories like this one, real stories about real people facing real betrayals, they do not show up in your feed every day. Now, let me take you back 3 weeks before that party to the night I discovered my wife was living a double life. It was a Friday evening in late June when everything I thought I knew shattered into 1,000 pieces. Diane and I had been married for 7 years. We met at a marketing conference in Chicago back when I was just starting my architecture firm and she was climbing the corporate ladder at a mid-sized advertising agency. People always said we were the couple that had it all figured out. Good jobs, nice house in the suburbs, regular date nights when our schedules allowed it. Sure, we were both busy. My projects often kept me at the drafting table until late evening, and Diane had recently been promoted to marketing manager, which meant longer hours and more responsibility. But that is what successful couples do. Right. They support each other's ambitions. Looking back now, I can see all the signs I missed. The way Diane started taking her phone everywhere, even to the bathroom. How she suddenly needed to attend evening meetings twice a week. The new perfume she bought without mentioning it. That lingerie set I found in her drawer that she never wore around me. At the time, I told myself I was being paranoid. Diane had never given me a reason not to trust her. We had built a life together. We talked about starting a family soon. How could I doubt her? That Friday night, Diane said she was going to take a quick shower before we ordered dinner. She left her phone on the kitchen counter, something she almost never did anymore. I was pulling out menus from the drawer when her phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. The screen lit up, and even though I did not mean to look, I could not help but see the preview of the message that appeared. Cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Same hotel. The name at the top read Greg, Office. My stomach dropped like I had just fallen off a cliff. My hands started shaking as I picked up the phone. The screen was locked, but that preview told me everything I needed to know. Same hotel. Those 2 words echoed in my head. I grabbed my own phone and quickly took a picture of her screen showing that message. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. The shower shut off upstairs. I set Diane's phone back exactly where she had left it and forced myself to breathe normally. She came down 10 minutes later in her bathrobe hair, wrapped in a towel, smiling like nothing in the world was wrong. "Chinese or Italian tonight?" she asked, picking up her phone and immediately checking it. "Whatever you want," I managed to say, my voice sounding strange even to my own ears. That night, I lay awake next to my wife, listening to her breathe peacefully, while my mind raced through 1,000 scenarios. Who was Greg? How long had this been going on? Where did they meet every time Diane had said she was working late? Every business trip, every girls' night out, it all suddenly became suspicious. The woman sleeping 18 inches away from me was a stranger. By sunrise, I had made a decision. I was not going to confront her yet. I needed to know the full truth. I needed evidence. And, more than anything, I needed to figure out who this Greg person was, and whether his wife knew what her husband was doing. The next morning was Saturday. Diane announced over coffee that she was meeting her friend Jessica for brunch, and then they were going shopping. She took extra care getting ready, which she never did for Jessica. She wore the perfume I did not recognize. She checked her phone 4 times while putting on makeup. "Have fun," I said, kissing her cheek and hating myself for pretending. "I will be back around 4, she said brightly. "Love you." "Love you too." I waited until her car disappeared down the street. Then I grabbed my keys and followed her. I am not proud of this. Tracking your spouse feels like admitting defeat, like accepting that your marriage has become something ugly. But I had to know. I had to see it with my own eyes. Diane drove straight past Jessica's neighborhood. She got on the highway heading east away from any shopping area she normally visited. I stayed 3 cars back, my grip tight on the steering wheel. 20 minutes later, she pulled into the parking lot of a Hilton hotel on the outskirts of town, the kind of place business travelers use, anonymous and convenient. A man was waiting by the entrance. Tall brown hair going gray at the temples, expensive watch catching the sunlight. He was probably in his mid-30s, wearing jeans and a polo shirt. When Diane got out of her car, he walked straight to her and they embraced. Not a friendly hug, a lover's embrace. His hand on the small of her back, her face pressed against his chest. Then he took her hand, and they walked into the hotel together, laughing about something I could not hear. I sat in my car for 2.5 hours. I took pictures of them entering the building. I felt numb, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart instead of my own. When they finally came out, Diane's hair was messier, and they were both smiling in that satisfied way that made my chest hurt. They kissed one more time before separating to their cars. I turned my head away, unable to watch any more. I got home an hour before Diane did. I was sitting on the couch, staring at nothing when she breezed through the door carrying 2 small shopping bags. "Hey, honey, we found the cutest boutique. Look what I got." She showed me a scarf and some earrings props for her lie. "How was your day?" "Fine," I said. "Just caught up on some work. Did you and Jessica have a good time?" "Oh, you know Jessica." Diane laughed, setting down her bags. She always makes me laugh. That night I did not sleep at all. I lay there thinking about what to do next. I could confront her immediately, but she might deny it. She might say the pictures were innocent, that I was overreacting. I needed more. I needed to know who this man was. And I needed to make sure that if this relationship was going to end, it would end on my terms with the truth exposed and no room for excuses. Monday morning, while Diane was at work, I did my research. I started with her company's website and LinkedIn. I searched for every Greg in her office. It took me 3 hours, but I found him. Greg Harrison, Senior Director of Client Relations. Married. 2 kids. His wife's name was Patricia Harrison, an elementary school teacher based on her Facebook profile. In her photos, she looked kind, genuine, the type of person who believed in her marriage vows. I stared at Patricia's smiling face on my laptop screen. She had no idea. Just like I had no idea 3 days ago. We were both victims of the same betrayal, living our lives while our spouses destroyed everything we had built. That is when the plan started forming. The backyard party was 3 weeks away. Diane always loved that party. She spent weeks planning the menu, the decorations, making sure everything was perfect. She talked about it constantly, about how important it was to her that people saw us as the ideal couple, the hosts with the perfect life. And I remembered something else. 2 months ago, Diane had mentioned Greg in passing. "There is this really talented guy at work, Greg Harrison," she had said during dinner one night. "He just gets marketing strategy in a way most people do not. I should invite him and his wife to our summer party." At the time, I thought nothing of it. Now I understood. She wanted Greg there. She wanted her lover at our party, standing in our backyard, probably imagining that she could manage both worlds at once. The devoted wife and the secret affair. Have it all. I made a decision then. I would not invite Greg. I would invite Patricia instead, and I would make sure she knew exactly why she was there. Finding Patricia's contact information took some creative searching, but eventually I found her email through the elementary school's website. I sent her a message from a new email account I created. "Hi, Patricia. My name is Francis. I am Diane's husband. I think we need to talk about our spouses. This is my phone number. Please call me when you can. I know this sounds strange, but I promise you will want to hear what I have to say." I hit send and waited. For 2 days, nothing happened. I started to think maybe she would not respond. Maybe she would think it was spam or a prank. Then, on Wednesday evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello, is this Francis?" A woman's voice, shaky and uncertain. "Yes. Patricia, what do you know about my husband?" Her voice broke on the last word. We agreed to meet at a Starbucks 30 minutes outside both our neighborhoods, somewhere neither Greg nor Diane would randomly show up. I got there first, ordered a black coffee I did not drink, and sat at a corner table where I could see the door. When Patricia walked in, I recognized her immediately from her Facebook photos, but in person she looked tired. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail. Her eyes were red-rimmed like she had been crying recently, or had not slept well in days. Probably both. She spotted me, hesitated for just a second, then walked over. "Francis." "Patricia, thank you for coming." I stood up. "Can I get you something to drink?" "I am okay." She sat down, clutching her purse in her lap. "Please, just tell me what is going on." I pulled out my phone and showed her everything. The text messages I had photographed. The pictures of Greg and Diane entering the hotel. The timeline I had pieced together of when Diane claimed to be working late and when Greg told Patricia he had client dinners. Patricia looked at each image, her face getting paler with every swipe. "How long?" she whispered. "I think at least 3 months, maybe longer." "How long have you suspected?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I did not. I mean, there were little things. He started going to the gym more. He bought new cologne. He was on his phone constantly, but he said it was work stress. I trusted him." Her voice cracked. 7 years, Francis. We have been married for 7 years. We have 2 little boys, and he just threw it all away. "They thought they were smarter than us," I said quietly. "They thought they could manage this, keep us both in the dark forever." Patricia wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "What are you going to do?" "I am going to make sure the truth comes out. In 3 weeks, my wife and I are hosting our annual summer party. Big event, all our friends and family, people from her work. She is already planning to invite some colleagues. I guarantee Greg will be on that list because she wants him there. She wants to play the perfect hostess while her lover stands 10 feet away and nobody knows." I paused. But you are going to be there too. Patricia looked up at me, her eyes widening. What? I am going to invite you. I will tell Diane you are an old friend who just moved back to town. She will not question it because she will be too busy making sure everything is perfect and monitoring Greg. You show up at 2 o'clock when the party is in full swing. I will introduce you around, and then nature will take its course when you and Greg end up in the same backyard. You want to expose them publicly, Patricia said slowly. I want them to face consequences, not just a private conversation where they can cry and apologize and promise to do better. I want everyone who knows them to see exactly who they are. I want Diane's friends to know. I want her family to know. I want them to understand that actions have real consequences. I leaned forward. But I will not do this without you. If you want to confront Greg privately, I understand. If you want to walk away quietly, I understand that too. But if you want to stand up and make sure he cannot lie his way out of this, then I need you there. Patricia was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands. When she finally looked up, there was something hard in her eyes that had not been there before. I trusted him completely. I believed every lie. I defended him to my mother when she said he was working too much. I made excuses for him. She swallowed hard. Yes, I will be there. They need to know they cannot do this to people. We spent the next hour planning every detail. Patricia would arrive at 2 o'clock. I would introduce her casually, just another guest. We would let Greg and Diane see each other first, let them think they were managing to pull it off. Then Patricia would approach Greg, and I would make sure everyone understood exactly what was happening. No more secrets, no more lies. When we left the coffee shop, Patricia hugged me. Thank you for telling me. I know this is terrible for both of us, but at least now I know the truth. We will get through this, I told her. Both of us. The next 2 weeks were the hardest of my life. I had to go home every day and pretend everything was normal. I had to kiss my wife goodbye in the mornings and listen to her talk about her day and smile when she laughed at something on television. Every single moment felt like swallowing glass. Diane came home late 4 times in those 2 weeks. Each time she had an excuse. Client emergency, team brainstorming session, drinks with the office to celebrate a project launch. I said nothing. I just nodded and asked if she wanted me to save her dinner. One night she went out for what she called a team dinner and did not come home until 11:15. Traffic was terrible, she said, kissing my forehead as I sat reading on the couch. I could smell his cologne on her clothes. How was dinner? I asked. Oh, you know, good food, boring work talk. She yawned. I am exhausted. I watched her walk upstairs and wanted to scream, but I did not. I kept it together because I knew what was coming. Confronting her privately would give her a chance to control the narrative to paint me as the bad guy somehow to make excuses. I wanted the truth to come out where she could not spin it or hide from it. Diane even suggested inviting more colleagues to the party. It would be good for networking, she said casually one evening while we were planning the menu. Maybe I will ask a few people from the office. Greg Harrison, Sarah from design. Maybe Tom from accounts. Sure, I said, my voice steady. Invite whoever you want, honey. She smiled, pleased. She had no idea I had already sent an invitation to someone she definitely did not expect. Patricia and I texted every few days. She told me she had hired a divorce lawyer and was gathering her own evidence. She said Greg had been distant lately, probably because he was distracted by his affair. She said her boys kept asking why Daddy was always on his phone, and it broke her heart to lie to them. I told her I understood. I told her we were doing the right thing. I told her that in a few days this would all be over and we could start rebuilding our lives. The morning of the party arrived. I woke up at 6 and could not fall back asleep. Diane was beside me, peaceful and content, probably dreaming about her perfect day. She had no idea that in 8 hours everything would explode. She got up at 7 and immediately started checking details. The catering delivery was scheduled for 11. The bartender was arriving at noon. She had already set up the tables and chairs in the backyard the night before, strung lights across the patio, arranged flowers in vases on every surface. Everything looked beautiful. Everything looked perfect. I grilled chicken and burgers starting at 11:30. Diane fluttered around, adjusting napkins and checking her reflection in the sliding glass door approximately 10 times. She wore a blue sundress and sandals, her hair-curled makeup carefully applied. She looked beautiful. She always did. Guests started arriving at noon. My brother and his family, Diane's sister, neighbors, friends from college. Everyone brought side dishes and desserts and compliments about how great the yard looked. By 1 o'clock, there were maybe 30 people scattered around the backyard, laughing and drinking and enjoying the July heat. Then, at 1:30, Greg Harrison walked through the side gate. I saw Diane's face light up when she spotted him. She immediately walked over all smiles and gave him a hug that lasted just a second too long. "Greg, so glad you could make it." She was trying to sound casual, but I heard the excitement in her voice. "Thanks for inviting me," Greg said, glancing around. "Great party." "Where is Patricia?" Diane asked, and I almost laughed at the irony. She was expecting Greg's wife to be there as cover. "She had something come up," Greg said smoothly. "She sends her apologies." "Oh, that is too bad." Diane touched his arm briefly. "Well, let me get you a drink." I watched them from across the yard. They were careful. They did not stand too close together. They talked to other people mingled separately, but every few minutes their eyes would find each other across the crowd. Little glances, secret smiles. They thought they were so clever. I checked my phone. 1:55. Patricia had texted, "Parking now. Are you ready?" I replied, "Ready. See you in 5." My heart was pounding. This was it. No going back now. I walked to the front of the house and waited by the door. At exactly 2 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Patricia standing on the porch in a yellow floral sundress, sunglasses pushed up on her head. She looked nervous, but determined. "Ready?" I asked quietly. She nodded. "Let us do this." I led her through the house and out to the backyard. The party was in full swing now, music playing, people gathered in clusters, talking and laughing. I raised my voice slightly to carry over the noise. "Hey everyone, I want you to meet someone. This is Patricia. She just moved back to the area and I thought she should come see what all the fuss is about with these parties." People turned and smiled. A few waved. My brother called out, "Welcome." Diane looked over from where she was standing by the drink cooler, her expression politely interested. She had no idea who Patricia was. Not yet. I guided Patricia toward the center of the yard, making a show of introducing her to a few people. "Patricia, this is my brother Mark, and this is our neighbor Susan." Friendly handshakes. Normal party chatter. We slowly moved closer to where Greg was standing with a group of Diane's co-workers holding a beer and laughing at something someone had said. Patricia saw him. Her steps slowed just a fraction, but she kept her composure. Greg had his back to us, still oblivious. I positioned us about 10 feet away and kept talking to Patricia, waiting for the right moment. Then Greg turned around to grab another beer from the cooler, and his eyes landed on his wife. The bottle slipped from his hand. It hit the concrete patio and shattered beer and glass exploding everywhere. Everyone nearby jumped back. "Jesus, man," someone said, laughing. But Greg was not paying attention to the broken bottle. He was staring at Patricia, his face completely drained of color. "Patricia, what are you doing here?" The laughter died. People sensed something was wrong. Patricia walked toward her husband, her voice calm and steady. "Hello, Greg. Surprised to see me. You told me you had to work this weekend. Something about quarterly reports that could not wait." Greg's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. I was going to work. I stopped by here for an hour, just to be friendly. Diane invited the whole office, and Diane appeared at Greg's elbow, her face pale but trying to maintain control. "Oh, so you two know each other. That is such a coincidence." I stepped forward, letting my voice carry across the now quiet backyard. "It is not a coincidence, honey. Patricia is Greg's wife. You know Greg Harrison, your colleague, the one you have been meeting at the Hilton every Saturday for the past 3 months. You could have heard a pin drop. 30 people stood frozen staring at us. Someone's drink cup hit the ground. Diane's face went from pale to bright red. Francis, this is not the time or place to what, Diane?" To tell the truth, I pulled out my phone. "Should I wait until later to tell everyone how you have been having an affair? How you leave our house every Saturday, telling me you are going shopping with Jessica, but you are really checking into a hotel room with this man?" I gestured at Greg, who looked like he wanted to disappear into the ground. Diane's sister gasped. My brother stepped forward like he wanted to intervene, but he did not know what to say. Patricia's voice cut through the shocked silence. "I trusted you." She was looking at Greg, tears streaming down her face, but her voice strong. 7 years, Greg. We have 2 children. I believed every single lie you told me, every late night at the office, every business trip, every time you said you were too tired to talk because of work stress. I believed all of it. Greg reached for her. "Patricia, please, we can talk about this at home." She stepped back. "No, I am done talking. I am done being the fool who believes you." She turned to Diane. "And you. You knew he was married. You knew he had children. Did that make you feel powerful? Did it make you feel special to be the other woman?" Diane's eyes filled with tears. "This is humiliating." "You humiliated yourself?" I said, my voice harder than I had ever heard it. "You made a choice every single day for 3 months. You looked me in the eye and lied. You stood in our kitchen and planned this party while texting him behind my back. You humiliated yourself. I am just making sure everyone knows the truth." Someone in the crowd, I think it was Diane's co-worker Sarah, said quietly, "Oh my God." Greg tried one more time. "Look, everyone, this is obviously a private matter that got out of hand. If we could all just—" "Private?" Patricia laughed bitterly. "You gave up your right to privacy when you destroyed our marriage. You want privacy. You should have thought about that before you started sleeping with your colleague." One of our neighbors grabbed her husband's arm, and they quietly moved toward the exit. A few others followed, but most people stayed shocked and unable to look away. Diane was crying now, mascara running down her face. "Francis, please, can we go inside and talk? We are way past private conversations. You had 3 months to talk to me. 3 months to tell me you were unhappy or that something was wrong. Instead, you lied every single day. You made me look like a fool in my own house. I felt anger rising in my chest, hot and sharp. You stood here planning this party, smiling at our friends, acting like we were perfect, and the whole time you were sleeping with him. So, no Diane. No more private conversations. Everyone here deserves to know who you really are. My brother finally found his voice. Francis, man, I get that you are angry, but maybe what, Mark? Maybe I should protect her reputation. Maybe I should let her keep pretending to be a good wife. She did not extend me that courtesy. She did not think about my feelings when she was in that hotel room. Diane turned to the crowd, desperate. Please, everyone, it is not as simple as he is making it sound. There were problems in our marriage. We had grown apart and, do not, I cut her off. Do not try to make this about me. Do not stand there and blame our marriage for your choices. If you were unhappy, you should have told me. If you wanted out, you should have asked for a divorce. But you did not. You wanted both. You wanted the security of being married to me and the excitement of sleeping with him. You wanted it all. Greg put his beer down on a nearby table and tried to take charge of the situation. Okay, I think everyone should probably go. This clearly needs to be handled privately. You do not get to decide that, Patricia said, her voice shaking with emotion. You do not get to control this narrative. For once, you do not get to manage the situation and make it go away. She pulled her wedding ring off her finger and held it out to him. Here, I think you forgot what this means. Loyalty, partnership, honesty, things you clearly do not value. Greg did not take the ring. He just stood there looking smaller by the second. Diane started toward the house. I cannot do this. I am leaving. That is probably best, I said. You can stay at your sister's place. We will talk about divorce lawyers on Monday. She froze. You already have a lawyer. I have had one for 2 weeks, Diane. You think I would expose you like this without being prepared? The papers will be ready first thing Monday morning. No-fault divorce, but everyone here will know exactly whose fault it really is. Diane looked around at the crowd, at the faces of our friends and family, staring at her with shock and disappointment and pity. Her sister would not meet her eyes. Her co-workers were whispering to each other. She broke. I cannot believe you did this, she sobbed. I cannot believe you cheated on me for 3 months and thought I would never find out. I guess we are both disappointed. Diane ran into the house. We heard her car start a few minutes later, and then she was gone. Greg stood awkwardly for another moment, then mumbled something about needing to go and practically fled through the side gate. Patricia watched him leave, tears still running down her face, but her shoulders squared. The backyard was silent except for the music still playing from the speakers, some upbeat pop song that felt completely wrong for the moment. My brother walked over and put his hand on my shoulder. You okay? No, I said honestly. But I will be. Patricia turned to me. Thank you. For not letting them get away with it. For making sure I knew the truth. We both deserved better than this, I said. Some of the guests started to leave, then quietly slipping out with murmured excuses. But a core group stayed. My brother, 2 of my closest friends from college, a couple of neighbors who had become real friends over the years. They stayed and helped clean up the broken glass from Greg's dropped beer. They stayed and quietly put away food. They stayed because sometimes that is what real friends do. They show up when everything falls apart. One of my college friends, Danny, came over with 2 fresh beers. Hell of a party, Francis. I laughed a genuine laugh for the first time in weeks. Yeah, hell of a party. Patricia stayed for another 30 minutes. We exchanged divorce lawyer information. We promised to check in with each other over the next few weeks. And then she left to go home to her boys, who would need her to be strong, even though I knew she felt shattered inside. As the sun started to set, I stood in my backyard with the few friends who remained. The string lights came on automatically, casting a warm glow over the mess of paper plates and half-empty cups. Someone had turned off the music. It was quiet except for crickets starting their evening song. "You handled that with more class than most people would have," Mark said. "I did not want revenge," I said slowly, thinking through the words. "I wanted the truth. There is a difference. Still, most guys would have just punched him. Violence would have made me the bad guy. This way, everyone knows exactly who betrayed who. Greg will go home and Patricia will divorce him, and everyone at his office will know why. Diane will have to face her family and friends, knowing they all saw her for what she is. That is enough." The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Because I had clear evidence of the affair, and Diane did not contest anything, it moved quickly. She kept her car and some furniture. I kept the house. We split our savings down the middle. It was clean and efficient, and nothing like the 7 years of marriage that came before it. Greg and Patricia divorced around the same time. I heard through mutual connections that Greg had resigned from his position after the company quietly suggested it would be best for everyone. Apparently, having an affair with a subordinate was frowned upon even in modern corporate America. Patricia got primary custody of their boys, and Greg had visitation every other weekend. Diane moved 2 hours away to stay with her sister while she looked for a new job. Her company had not fired her, but apparently working in the same office where everyone knew about the affair became too uncomfortable. I did not keep track of what happened to her after that. It was not my business anymore. The first few weeks after she left were strange. The house felt too big and too quiet. I would wake up in the morning and reach across the bed before remembering she was not there. I would start to tell her about something funny that happened at work before realizing I was talking to empty air. Grief is weird like that. You can grieve someone who hurt you. You can miss someone you are better off without. But slowly, things got easier. I started going to the gym again, something I had stopped doing years ago. I took up hiking, spending weekends in state parks with just my camera and my thoughts. I found peace in the quiet of the woods in the simple act of putting one foot in front of the other on a trail. No lies, no betrayal, just me and the mountain. My friends rallied around me in ways I had not expected. Danny started a weekly poker night at his place. Mark invited me over for family dinners so I would not spend every evening alone. Even some of the neighbors checked in, bringing over extra food from their own dinners, or just stopping by to chat for a few minutes. Patricia and I met for coffee 3 or 4 times over those months. Not as potential romantic partners. We both needed time to heal, and neither of us was ready for anything like that. But as friends. As 2 people who understood what the other had been through in a way no one else could. She told me about how she explained the divorce to her boys, how she tried to be honest without turning them against their father. She told me about the nights she cried after they went to bed, mourning the life she thought she had. She told me about slowly rebuilding, about remembering who she was before she was Greg's wife. I told her about the anger that still surfaced sometimes about how I would be fine for days, and then suddenly furious all over again. I told her about the moments of doubt, wondering if I had handled things the wrong way, if maybe a private confrontation would have been kinder. I told her about learning to be alone again, and discovering that alone was not the same as lonely. "Do you regret it?" she asked me once about 6 months after the party. The way we did it, I mean. Public instead of private. I thought about it for a long time before answering. No. If I had confronted Diane privately, she would have cried and apologized and promised it meant nothing. She would have begged for another chance, and maybe I would have been weak enough to give it to her. But the trust was already destroyed. Even if we stayed together, I would have spent the rest of my life wondering where she really was and who she was really texting. That is no way to live. I paused. This way, there was no room for excuses or false reconciliation. It was clean. Painful, but clean. Patricia nodded. Greg tried to convince me it was a mistake, that he still loved me. But how do you accidentally have an affair for 3 months? How do you accidentally lie every single day? Those are choices, and I deserve someone who chooses me, not someone who chooses me only after getting caught. Exactly. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, drinking our coffee and watching people walk by on the street outside the shop window. A year after the party, I was in a good place. Not perfect. Healing is not linear, and there were still hard days. But I had taken up a new hobby, woodworking, and was building furniture in my garage on weekends. Simple things at first, a bookshelf, a coffee table. But working with my hands, creating something solid and real from raw materials, was therapeutic in a way I had not anticipated. My architecture firm was doing well. I had thrown myself into work in those first months after the divorce, and it paid off with 3 major contracts. I hired 2 new employees. I was designing a community center for a nonprofit downtown, and the project felt meaningful in a way my work had not felt in years. I went on a few dates. Nothing serious. I was not ready for serious. But it was nice to remember that connection was still possible, that not everyone was like Diane, that trust could be rebuilt, even if it had to start from scratch with someone new. Patricia texted me one evening. "The boys asked if you could come to Luke's birthday party next month. They remember you as the nice man who helped their mom. I told them I would ask." I smiled at my phone. "I would be honored. Let me know the date." It felt good to be seen as the nice man who helped someone instead of the betrayed husband. It felt like moving forward. I never saw Diane again after the divorce was finalized. I heard she eventually moved to Portland and got a job with a marketing startup. I heard she was dating someone new. I hoped she had learned something from what happened, but honestly, it was not my concern anymore. She was a chapter in my life that had closed. Not forgotten, because you cannot forget 7 years, and you should not try. But closed. Finished. Behind me. The second summer after the divorce, I did not host a party. Instead, I invited a handful of close friends over for a quiet evening. We grilled steaks, drank good beer, played music on the patio. It was simple and honest and exactly what I needed. No performance, no trying to prove anything to anyone. Just real connection with people who actually cared about me. Mark raised his beer around 9 o'clock when it was just the core group left. To Francis, for knowing when to fight and when to walk away. To Francis. Everyone echoed. I felt something settle in my chest. Not happiness exactly, but peace, acceptance, the knowledge that I had done the right thing even when it was hard, that I had chosen truth over comfort and dignity over false reconciliation. Someone once told me that the opposite of love is not hate, but indifference. It took me a long time to get there, but eventually I reached a place where I could think about Diane without anger. Not fondness either, but a kind of neutral acceptance. She made her choices. I made mine. We both had to live with the consequences. The most important thing I learned through all of it was this: your worth is not determined by how someone else treats you. Diane's betrayal said everything about her character and nothing about my value as a person or a partner. I did not deserve what she did. Patricia did not deserve what Greg did, and we both deserved the chance to rebuild our lives with honesty at the foundation. Late one night, about 18 months after everything exploded, I was sitting on my back patio with a glass of whiskey looking at the stars. The yard was quiet. The string lights were off. It was just me and the crickets and the cool autumn air. And I realized something that made me smile. I was okay. More than okay. I was actually content. Not in spite of what happened, but because of how I handled it. Because I chose truth even when it was painful. Because I refused to live a lie even when it would have been easier. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Hey, just wanted to say thank you again. For everything. I know we have both moved on, but I wanted you to know that what you did inviting me to that party, it changed my life. I was living in denial, and you gave me the truth. That was a gift even though it hurt like hell. I typed back, we gave each other the truth. That takes two people brave enough to face it. I hope you are doing well. I am. Really well, actually. The boys are thriving. I am thriving. Life is good. Hope the same for you. It is. Life is good. And it was true. Not perfect. Not what I planned. But good. Real. Honest. And after everything that was enough. So, here is what I want to leave you with. If you are watching this video because you are going through something similar, because you found out someone you love has been lying to, you know, you deserve the truth. You deserve honesty. You deserve someone who chooses you every single day, not just when it is convenient. And if you do not have that, it is okay to walk away. It is okay to demand better. It is okay to expose the lies instead of protecting them. I am not saying public confrontation is always the right answer. Every situation is different. But I am saying that you do not owe protection to someone who did not protect your heart. You do not owe silence to someone who lied to your face. You owe yourself honesty and dignity and a chance at real happiness with someone who actually values you. And to those of you who have never been through betrayal, who are in healthy relationships built on trust, hold on to that. Protect it. Because it is precious. Do not take it for granted. Do not assume it will always be there. Work at it every day. Choose your partner every day. Be the person someone can trust completely. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and demanding the truth? How did you handle it? What would you have done in my situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. And subscribe to the channel because we share real stories about real life every week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And remember, the truth might hurt, but lies hurt worse. Take care of yourselves out there.